Every NFL franchise has one season that fans swear still feels unreal. Today, we're breaking down each team's greatest season, where regular season dominance and playoff pressure collided into history. AFC East. Buffalo Bills, 1990. And this is where the heartbreak starts. The 1990 Bills weren't just good, they were relentless. A 13-3 regular season, an offense that kept coming in waves, and a team that felt destined. Every week, they looked sharper, more confident, like the league was finally tilting their way. Then came the playoffs, and Buffalo didn't blink. They powered through the AFC, punched their ticket to Super Bowl 25, and stood one kick away from immortality. Wide right. That's how close it was. One moment changed everything. But even without the ring, this season stands as Buffalo's peak. The year they proved they belonged on the biggest stage. Fans still talk about it because they could feel it. Miami Dolphins, 1972. Now, here's something the NFL has never seen again. The 1972 Dolphins didn't just win, they erased the idea of losing altogether. Week after week, no slips, no cracks, no late collapses. An undefeated regular season, then the playoffs, same story. Calm, ruthless, precise. When they reached the Super Bowl, there was no drama about if, only about when it would be finished. They closed it out and walked away perfect. The only team in NFL history to do it. No asterisks, no debates. Every other great season gets compared to this one for a reason. Perfection under NFL pressure. Do you think we'll ever see that again? New England Patriots, 2007. And then there's the season that felt unstoppable until it wasn't. The 2007 Patriots tore through the league like a machine. 16 games, 16 wins, records falling weekly, defenses overwhelmed, stadiums silent. They felt inevitable. One night flipped everything. The Super Bowl loss didn't erase the dominance. That regular season was historic, surgical, and terrifying. And yes, 2016 gave them the ultimate redemption with the 28-3 comeback, but pure week-to-week dominance? 2007 still stands alone as New England's peak. New York Jets, 1968. And this one changed the league forever. The 1968 Jets weren't supposed to win. Nobody outside their locker room believed it. But when they walked into Super Bowl III, they didn't play scared. They played free. Confidence, defiance. When the final whistle blew, the upset wasn't just shocking. It reshaped how football was viewed. That single season gave the Jets their only championship and stamped their place in NFL history. One bold run, one unforgettable moment. And fans have been chasing that feeling ever since. AFC North. Baltimore Ravens, 2000. And this is where defense stopped being just a strategy and became intimidation. The 2000 Ravens didn't try to outscore teams. They dared them to survive. Every snap felt heavy. That defense suffocated offenses and forced mistakes. In the playoffs, Baltimore never blinked. Super Bowl 35 felt less like a win and more like a declaration. This season didn't just define success. It defined Ravens football. Cincinnati Bengals, 1988. And just when it seemed like Cincinnati had finally arrived, everything tightened. The 1988 Bengals went 12-4 and played with confidence that the franchise rarely gets credit for. They weren't flashy, they were efficient, disciplined, and fearless. That playoff run carried them all the way to Super Bowl 23, where they stood toe-to-toe with a dynasty. The game slipped away late, painfully close, but that season remained Cincinnati's high watermark. For 1 year, the Bengals weren't chasing respect. They had it. And for fans, that near upset still stings decades later. Cleveland Browns, 1986. This one comes with context. The Browns were monsters in the 1950s. Championships, dominance, and a standard few teams could touch. But to keep this list grounded in the Super Bowl era, 1986 gets the nod. That team went 12-4, ruled the AFC Central, and felt like destiny was finally lining up. Cleveland had swagger, talent, and belief. The season ended in heartbreak, but the dominance was real. It was the closest the modern Browns came to the power they once had. A reminder that this franchise didn't always live in frustration. Pittsburgh Steelers, 1978. And here's where a dynasty hit full throttle. The 1978 Steelers went 14-2 and looked unstoppable doing it. This was the Steel Curtain at its peak. Disciplined, brutal, and perfectly balanced. Come playoff time, they didn't blink. Every opponent felt smaller. When they won the Super Bowl, it cemented this season as the Steelers at their absolute best. Not just champions, enforcers. And honestly, who would want to face that team? AFC South. Houston Texans, 2025. And this one hits differently because it's still fresh. For the Texans, 2025, this season, represents the highest point the franchise has ever reached. More wins than ever before, real belief, and for once, expectations instead of hope. The regular season wasn't just solid, it was authoritative. They didn't sneak into relevance, they demanded it. And when the postseason came, they looked like they belonged there. For a franchise that had spent years searching for an identity, this was the year it finally arrived. Texans fans waited a long time for this feeling. Indianapolis Colts, 2006. Now, here's where the patience finally paid off. The 2006 Colts went 14-2 and looked unstoppable on paper, but the real test came in January. This was the season Peyton Manning shed every doubt that followed him. The playoff run wasn't smooth. It was gritty, stressful, and emotional. Comebacks, pressure moments, and finally, Super Bowl 41. When the clock hit zero, it wasn't just a championship. It was a validation. For Colts fans, this season wasn't about stats. It was about closure. And honestly, doesn't that make it even sweeter? Jacksonville Jaguars, 1999. This is the season Jaguars fans still replay in their heads. The 1999 Jaguars stormed through the regular season at 14-2, overpowering almost everyone in their path. They felt unstoppable, confident, and ahead of schedule. The playoff run carried that same energy all the way to the AFC Championship. And while it didn't end with a Super Bowl trip, this was the franchise at its absolute peak. Everything clicked. Everything worked. For Jacksonville, this was the standard that's been chased ever since. Tennessee Titans, 1999. And finally, the season is defined by inches. The 1999 Titans went 13-3 and delivered one of the most unforgettable playoff moments ever. The postseason magic carried them all the way to Super Bowl 34, then came the final play. 1 yard short. Near glory, near immortality. That moment still hurts, but this season remains Tennessee's greatest. Because for one run, everything felt possible. AFC West. Denver Broncos, 1998. And this was a legacy season, no debate. The 1998 Broncos went 14-2, but the record only tells half the story. This was a team playing with urgency, like they knew time was running out. Every win felt heavy and intentional. John Elway wasn't chasing stats anymore. He was chasing history. The playoffs were controlled and confident, and when Super Bowl Sunday arrived, Denver finished the job. That win didn't just crown a champion, it sealed Elway's legacy. For Broncos fans, this season felt final, powerful, and perfectly timed. You couldn't script a better ending. Kansas City Chiefs, 2019. And here's where everything changed in Kansas City. The 2019 Chiefs didn't just win, they exploded. Speed everywhere, confidence everywhere. A regular season built on offense that felt impossible to stop. Then came the playoffs, and when things got tight, they never panicked. Comebacks, momentum swings, pressure moments. Kansas City handled all of it. Super Bowl 54 wasn't just a victory, it was a breakthrough. This season announced a new power in the NFL. And while later teams may post better records, this was the year the Chiefs became inevitable. Las Vegas Raiders, 1976. This was dominance without apology. The 1976 Raiders went 13-1 and played with an edge that felt personal. Every game had a bite. They weren't just winning, they were imposing their will. By the time the playoffs arrived, no one wanted to face them. Super Bowl 11 wasn't dramatic because it didn't need to be. The Raiders controlled it. This season defined the franchise's identity. Tough, confident, unapologetic. For Raiders fans, this is the gold standard. The year everything clicked perfectly. Los Angeles Chargers, 2006. And here's the painful one. The 2006 Chargers went 14-2, the best regular season in franchise history. Every week they looked complete, balanced, dangerous. It felt like the year it would finally happen. Then the postseason arrived and it slipped away. That loss still stings because of how good this team was. Even without the ring, this remains the Chargers' peak, the season that proved what they were capable of. NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, 1992. This is where a dynasty announced itself. The 1992 Cowboys went 13-3 and played with a swagger that felt earned. Young, fast, ruthless. By the playoffs, it was clear. No one was stopping them. Super Bowl 27 wasn't close. It was domination. That season didn't just win a title, it launched an era. For Dallas fans, this wasn't just the best season. It was the moment everything changed. New York Giants, 2007. And then came chaos. The 2007 Giants barely sneaked into the playoffs. No hype, no expectations. Then everything flipped. Week after week, they survived, fought, and refused to go away. And when they faced the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl, they didn't blink. One of the greatest upsets in sports history followed. That run wasn't about dominance. It was about belief. And that's why this is the Giants' greatest season ever. Philadelphia Eagles, 2017. This season felt different from the start. The 2017 Eagles went 13-3 and played with balance, confidence, and edge. When adversity hit, they didn't fold. They adapted. The postseason felt electric, and by the time Super Bowl 52 ended, Philadelphia finally had its moment. This wasn't just a win, it was a release. For Eagles fans, this season is untouchable. Pure payoff. Washington Commanders, 1991. And this one was pure dominance. The 1991 Washington team went 14-2 and controlled the league from start to finish. No drama, no doubt. Regular season excellence carried straight into the postseason, capped by a Super Bowl 26 win. This wasn't a hot streak. It was sustained superiority. For Washington fans, this season stands alone. NFC North. Chicago Bears, 1985. This season still feels like a warning shot to the rest of the league. The 1985 Bears went 15-1 and didn't just beat teams, they broke them. Every Sunday felt inevitable. That defense was violent, loud, and suffocating. Quarterbacks didn't look confused, they looked scared. The playoffs were a formality. By the time Super Bowl 20 ended, the Bears had delivered one of the most dominant seasons the NFL had ever seen. This wasn't luck or momentum. It was power, discipline, and attitude colliding at the same time. Even decades later, fans still measure greatness against this team. Detroit Lions, 1991. And then there's the season Lions fans still hold on to. In 1991, Detroit finally felt alive. A 12-4 record, confidence building week by week, and a playoff run that proved this team wasn't just showing up, it was competing. The offense had juice, the defense held its ground, and for once, Detroit wasn't an afterthought. This season stands as the franchise's modern high point. Not perfect, not finished, but real. And sometimes, that's enough to keep belief alive. Green Bay Packers, 1996. This was Green Bay at full throttle. The 1996 Packers went 13-3 and dominated on both sides of the ball. Nothing felt accidental. The regular season was controlled, the playoffs were efficient, and Super Bowl 31 was the final stamp. Defense, offense, special teams, everything clicked. This wasn't just a championship run. It was balanced perfection. For Packers fans, this season sits above the rest because it felt complete from start to finish. Minnesota Vikings, 1998. And this one still hurts. The 1998 Vikings went 15-1 and looked unstoppable. Points came fast, confidence came faster. Every game felt like a statement. Then came the moment everything turned. The ending was brutal, unforgettable, and cruel. But even with the heartbreak, this remains Minnesota's best season. Because rarely has a team looked that dominant, and fans know it. NFC South. Atlanta Falcons, 1998. This was the year Atlanta broke through. The 1998 Falcons went 14-2 and carried belief straight into the postseason. Each playoff win felt heavier than the last, building momentum towards something bigger. When they reached the Super Bowl, it wasn't a fluke. It was earned. Even without the final payoff, this season stands as Atlanta's peak. It's the year fans realized how close greatness really was. Carolina Panthers, 2015. And suddenly, nobody could slow them down. The 2015 Panthers went 15-1 and played with swagger. Every week they imposed their will, dominating games early and controlling them late. The playoff run only added to the momentum, pushing Carolina all the way to the Super Bowl. Even though it ended short, this was the franchise at its most powerful. The confidence, the energy, everything peaked here. New Orleans Saints, 2009. This season meant more than football. The 2009 Saints went 13-3, but the wins weren't just numbers. They carried emotion, purpose, and belief. The postseason was tense, dramatic, and unforgettable. When Super Bowl 44 ended, New Orleans finally had its moment. This wasn't just a championship. It was a release. For Saints fans, no season will ever feel bigger. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2002. And this one was pure control. The 2002 Buccaneers went 12-4 and let their defense do the talking. Every playoff game felt locked down and calculated. By Super Bowl 37, Tampa Bay wasn't hoping to win. They knew they would. This season defined the franchise's identity and remains its ultimate high point. NFC West. Arizona Cardinals, 2008. And nobody saw this coming. The 2008 Cardinals didn't dominate the regular season, but once January hit, everything changed. Every playoff game felt louder, sharper, and more desperate. They kept surviving, kept pushing, and suddenly they were standing on the Super Bowl stage. For a franchise that had waited forever for a moment like this, Super Bowl 43 felt unreal. Even in defeat, this run became the defining chapter in Cardinals history. This was the season that finally put Arizona on the NFL map. Los Angeles Rams, 1999. This season rewrote what the offense could look like. The 1999 Rams were pure chaos for defenses. Speed everywhere. Points in bunches. Every game felt like a track meet. The greatest show on turf wasn't a nickname. It was a warning. They steamrolled through the regular season, then carried that fire into the playoffs. When Super Bowl 34 ended, the Rams had completed one of the most explosive seasons ever. This wasn't just a title. It was a revolution. San Francisco 49ers, 1984. And here's dominance done quietly. The 1984 49ers went 15-1 and made it look effortless. No drama, no panic, just precision. Every opponent felt controlled from kickoff to final whistle. The postseason followed the same script, ending with a Super Bowl 19 win that felt inevitable. This season wasn't flashy. It was surgical. And that's exactly why many still call it one of the greatest teams in NFL history. Seattle Seahawks, 2013. This one felt inevitable from the first snap. The 2013 Seahawks went 13-3 and played with speed, violence, and confidence. That defense didn't just stop teams. It overwhelmed them. Offensively, they were efficient, calm, and deadly when it mattered. The playoffs were a march, and Super Bowl 48 was the exclamation point. This season defined Seattle football and remains the franchise's undisputed peak. Every NFL franchise has that one season fans never stop talking about. Perfection, heartbreak, dominance, or defiance. That's what makes these years so unforgettable. So, which team's best season stands above the rest for you? Drop your take in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. There's plenty more coming.